The toast that silenced the room. My name is Edward, and I am 61 years old. I have lived long enough to know that the deepest wounds are not always inflicted by enemies. Sometimes they come from the child you once carried on your shoulders. The night my son publicly humiliated me at his wedding, I felt something I had not felt in decades, small, not because of what he said, but because of where he chose to say it. Under crystal chandeliers. In front of colleagues, friends, relatives. In front of the woman he loved. And yet, what happened next changed our lives forever. The wedding I dreamed about. I woke up that morning before sunrise. I ironed my suit twice, navy blue, the same suit I wore to Michael's college graduation. It was slightly loose now. Age has a way of taking both muscle and pride, but it still carried memories stitched into its seams. As I adjusted my tie, I stared at myself in the mirror. 61 years old, I murmured, "You did it." Raising a son alone after his mother left was not easy. She walked out when Michael was 8, no dramatic fight, no warning, just a suitcase and a note that said she needed freedom. Freedom. I stayed. I learned how to braid hair for school plays when he needed a wig. I burned pancakes until I figured out the right heat. I worked construction during the day and stocked shelves at night. I missed sleep but never missed his soccer games. I wasn't soft. I wasn't poetic. But I was present. And that day, watching him prepare to marry Olivia, I believed all the long nights had led to this beautiful moment. The ceremony. The church glowed with stained glass light. Olivia looked radiant walking down the aisle. Michael's eyes watered. I placed my hand over my chest. That's my boy. When they exchanged vows, I silently thanked God for protecting him through teenage rebellion, heartbreaks, and bad decisions. After the ceremony, guests flooded into the grand reception hall. White roses, golden lights, polished floors. Laughter echoed everywhere. People shook my hand. "You must be so proud, Edward." I was. More than they knew. The toast. Dinner was served, music softened, glasses clinked. Then Michael stood up. "I'd like to say something about my dad," he announced. I felt my heart swell. This was the moment every father secretly hopes for, the acknowledgement, the gratitude, the quiet recognition of sacrifice. He raised his glass. For those who don't know, my dad is old school. Light laughter. He believed in discipline over discussion, rules over feelings. Maury laughter. He thought grounding me built character. The laughter grew louder. I forced a smile. "It's fine," I told myself, "he's joking." Then his tone shifted. I used to think he didn't understand me at all. In fact, he smirked, "If you want advice on how not to adapt to modern life, ask my father." The room burst into louder laughter. My fingers tightened around my napkin. Michael shrugged theatrically. He tried his best, I guess, but sometimes trying your best just isn't enough. That sentence did not sound like a joke. It sounded like a verdict. He raised his glass toward me casually. "Still, thanks for doing what you could, Dad." What you could. Not what you did, not what you gave, what you could. The room applauded politely. But I heard something else. Silence. The silence of dignity cracking. The walk to the microphone. The DJ smiled at me. "Mr. Edward, your speech." For a second, I considered walking out. I imagined the headlines in People's Gossip. Father storms out after son's joke. That would have satisfied pride, but destroyed something deeper. So I stood. My legs felt heavier than they had in years. I took the microphone. The hall quieted. Michael looked confident. He thought the moment had passed. He was wrong. The response. "Good evening," I began softly. "My name is Edward. I am 61 years old." The air felt thick. And I have had the privilege of being Michael's father for 32 of those years. I paused. I heard my son say tonight that sometimes trying your best isn't enough. I nodded slowly. He's absolutely right. Confusion rippled across faces. When his mother left, I didn't know how to braid hair. I didn't know how to cook properly. I didn't know how to answer questions about why she wasn't coming back. The room went still. I didn't know how to be both mother and father. Michael's smile faded. There were nights I cried quietly in the bathroom so he wouldn't hear me. There were days I chose rent over new shoes for myself. There were birthdays when I wrapped presents during my lunch break because that was the only time I had. I swallowed. I wasn't perfect, I was tired, I was scared, but I never left. The silence deepened. I was strict, I admitted, because the world does not reward softness. I wanted my son strong. I wanted him disciplined. I wanted him prepared. I turned fully toward Michael. If my best wasn't enough, I said gently, then I accept that, but everything I gave you came from love. My voice trembled, but not from weakness. Tonight isn't about me. It's about you and Olivia, and I pray you never have to learn how heavy responsibility feels when you carry it alone. I placed the microphone down and stepped back. The shock. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then someone began clapping. It wasn't loud. It was steady. Then another joined. And another. Within seconds, the entire hall rose to its feet. Not for drama. Not for entertainment. For truth. Michael stood frozen. Olivia wiped tears from her cheeks. I did not bow, I did not smile. I simply sat down. Outside under the lights. Later that night, I stood alone near the garden lights, breathing in cool air. Footsteps approached. Dad. I didn't turn immediately. Michael's voice sounded different, smaller. I didn't mean to embarrass you. But you did, I replied calmly. I was trying to be relatable, he said. Everyone jokes about their parents. Jokes should never cost someone their dignity, I said quietly. He ran his hand through his hair, the way he used to when nervous as a teenager. I guess I never thought about what it was like for you. No, I agreed, you didn't. Silence lingered. Then his voice cracked. I'm sorry. At 61, I've learned that apologies are rare and fragile things. I forgive you, I said, but remember this feeling. One day you may stand where I stood tonight. He nodded slowly. The real turning point. The next morning at the post-wedding brunch, something happened that no one expected. Michael stood again. I owe someone an apology, he said. The room quieted. My father deserved better from me last night. I made light of sacrifices I didn't fully understand. He looked directly at me. Everything good in me, my work ethic, my discipline, my ability to stand here confidently, came from him. This applause felt different. It wasn't reactive. It was healing. What changed? In the months that followed, Michael visited more often. He asked about my struggles. He listened. Really listened. One evening, he said something that stayed with me. I used to think strength meant independence. Now I realize it means endurance. I smiled. He was learning. Not because I shamed him, but because I showed him grace. The moral. Public humiliation tests your character. You can react with anger and confirm the insult. Or you can respond with dignity and redefine the moment. That night, my son thought he exposed my shortcomings. Instead, he exposed his immaturity. And I responded not with pride, but with truth. Respect your parents while they are alive to hear it. And if you are a parent, remember that your example speaks louder than your anger. I am Edward, I am 61 years old, I am not a perfect man. But I am a father who never quit. And sometimes that is more powerful than perfection.